What's worse than death? Being skinned alive. Flaying, a method so brutal that even the strongest warriors and the most hardened criminals begged for death before it was over. Flaying, also known as skinning alive, was one of the most excruciating execution methods ever devised by mankind. It wasn't just about death, it was about suffering. The goal wasn't to kill the victim quickly, but to make every moment unbearable. Executioners would begin by making small incisions, usually on the limbs or the back, where the skin was easier to separate from the muscle. Then, using razor-sharp knives, they would slowly peel the skin away, sometimes in strips, sometimes in large sections, depending on how much pain they wanted to inflict. The process was agonizing. The human skin is packed with nerve endings, and as it was peeled off, victims would feel every excruciating second. Shock, blood loss, and infection would eventually lead to death, but not immediately. Some victims survived for hours or even days before succumbing to the torture. To make things even worse, some executioners would rub salt or boiling water onto the exposed flesh, intensifying the agony. Others would hang victims up, letting gravity pull the loose skin from their bodies. But why would anyone invent such a horrific form of punishment? The earliest recorded instances of flaying date back over 3,000 years to ancient Mesopotamia, where powerful empires used it as a warning to their enemies. Among the most notorious practitioners were the Assyrians, one of history's most feared warrior civilizations. They didn't just kill their enemies, they turned executions into public spectacles. When the Assyrians conquered a city, they sometimes flayed its leaders alive and nailed their skins to the city walls as a gruesome message. This is what happens to those who resist us. King Ashurbanipal, one of Assyria's most ruthless rulers, even documented these punishments in artwork and inscriptions, boasting about how he flayed rebels alive. To the Assyrians, flaying wasn't just about pain, it was about domination. The Persians also used flaying for severe crimes, especially corruption. One of the most infamous cases was that of Sisamnes, a corrupt judge who accepted bribes. When King Cambyses II discovered his betrayal, he ordered him flayed alive, but the punishment didn't stop there. The king had Sisamnes' skin turned into leather and used to upholster the judge's seat. His replacement had to sit on this grim reminder of what happened to those who betrayed justice. Even in ancient Egypt, where execution was rare, flaying was sometimes reserved for severe offenses, particularly against the gods. Some texts suggest that priests performed ritual flayings on criminals who desecrated sacred sites, ensuring that their punishment extended beyond death. But flaying wasn't just an ancient punishment. It continued to be used throughout history, from medieval Europe to Asia. One of the most infamous cases of flaying in medieval history involved Pierre Basile, the man who allegedly fired the crossbow that killed King Richard the Lionheart in 1299. Despite being promised mercy, Basile was captured, flayed alive, and then hanged for daring to kill a king. Flaying wasn't just reserved for assassins. It was also used against rebels, enemy spies, and those who betrayed the monarchy. Many of these executions were carried out in public squares, where crowds gathered to witness the horror unfold. One of the most horrific flayings in history took place in Hungary in 1514, when the nobleman György Dosa led a peasant revolt against the ruling class. After his army was defeated, Dosa was captured and subjected to an execution so cruel it became legendary. He was tied to a burning hot iron throne. and his executioners slowly peeled his skin off in front of his followers. But the horror didn't stop there. His starving comrades were forced to eat his flesh, ensuring that his death would remain one of the most infamous in history. During the Spanish Inquisition, religious authorities used extreme torture methods to extract confessions from accused heretics. While burning at the stake was more common, flaying was sometimes used on those deemed beyond redemption. Some records suggest that accused witches and blasphemers were skinned alive as a warning to others. In medieval Europe, flaying wasn't just about punishment. It was about erasing a person's dignity, legacy, and even their soul. Some rulers believed that a flayed traitor could never find peace in the afterlife, making the punishment even more terrifying. But Europe wasn't the only place where flaying continued to be used. Empires like the Mongols and Ottomans turned flaying into a horrifying art of war. While Europe had its fair share of horrific executions, flaying was just as brutal, if not worse, in Asia and the Middle East. Here it wasn't just a method of punishment. It was a tool of war, a political statement, and a way to instill absolute fear in enemies and traitors. In Imperial China, a form of flaying was sometimes used as part of the dreaded lingqi, or death by 1,000 cuts. While lingqi primarily involved slicing the body into pieces over time, some executions included peeling off skin to prolong agony. As horrifying as flaying was, it wasn't something that lasted forever. Over time, civilizations evolved, and new ideas about justice, human rights, and morality emerged. What was once seen as a powerful tool of fear became a relic of the past, too gruesome even for the most ruthless rulers. By the 17th and 18th centuries, flaying started to fade away in most parts of the world. Governments and rulers began adopting less gruesome methods of execution, such as beheading, quick and efficient, making it more humane, hanging, easier to carry out and still a strong deterrent. By the 19th century, many countries had officially banned torture as a form of punishment. While flaying may no longer be used as an official form of execution, its legacy remains one of the most gruesome punishments ever devised. It serves as a dark reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty and how far we've come in the pursuit of justice. After the French Revolution, many extreme punishments were abolished, and the guillotine became the standard execution method. But even as societies evolve, one question lingers. Could such punishments ever return in a world driven by fear and vengeance?